first. I'm never first for anything. And when that gun goes off at the Boston Marathon, I see 20,000 rear ends and the view never changes. Some of you have heard me say that 26.2 miles, that's the distance of a marathon, for me became what I call the distance of a lifetime. And I sincerely doubt, I know I never would have taken on running the Boston Marathon had I not been diagnosed with MS. And I wanted to see just how hard and how far I could push back at that diagnosis. Since then, I've come to define my life by what I call the 3 S's: self-discovery, serendipity, and a whole lot of stubbornness. Those 3 S's have shown me that my life with MS is far broader than I had originally expected, and the journey is not mine alone to take. There was the Boston City police officer who in the 2001 Boston Marathon told me to dig in when he saw me give up at mile 24. That policeman, without ever realizing it, set me on my path to what it has meant to have MS. Dig in. After that very first marathon, I was asked to speak at the American Neurological Convention. And after I spoke, I was invited out for dinner, sat at a table similar to the one you're sitting at now. A lot of interesting folk at this table. There were doctors, people from the pharmaceutical company, like I said, interesting mix. And during the course of the evening, the conversation came around to mountain climbing. Well, I thought it was just general table banter. And somebody asked me if I had ever climbed. And I proudly named off 2 foothills in New Hampshire, which I now know really are foothills. Absolutely, I've climbed. Well, the woman to my left said, we've had an opportunity come up. Now, that is a very dangerous word for me. She said, there's a gentleman from Boulder, Colorado, who's looking to put the first team of people with MS on Denali. Now, Denali, does that not sound hot and tropical? I'm thinking pina coladas. It has to be in the Hawaiian Island chain. I said, oh, I'm your woman. So anyway, weeks went by, didn't hear anything more about it. My curiosity is driving me crazy. And I called the woman back, and I said, Denali you mentioned, where is it? Alaska. Damn! It's gonna be cold! I said, that's funny, the only mountain I've ever heard of is McKinley. Same mountain. Oh, I said, wait a minute, you know those 2 I told you about? I think I was 10. I'm not even sure if I got to the top. She said, don't worry, if you're interested, we'll train you. It's your decision. And I decided this opportunity would never come to me again. I was not going to get a second chance to say, oh yes, I now want to do it. So that was the first. But more important than that was the mission of the climb. It wasn't set up as a fundraiser. The mission of the climb was set up twofold: to show the world what people with MS are capable of, and coupled with that, to encourage the newly diagnosed to get on therapy. So with those 2 in mind, I decided I was going to do it, and I became the sole woman climber on a 7-man team, MS on Denali 2002. And although weather prevented our summit, we were certainly successful and showed the world what people with MS are capable of. Well, Mount McKinley came to represent more than just a mountain to me. Mount McKinley came to become a metaphor for how I view my life with MS. We can't always do what we want when we want. Conditions often mandate that we take a little longer, try a little harder, and dig a little deeper. And I knew I had some unfinished business in Alaska. And I decided I had to go back. And on June of 2004, I became the first person with MS to stand on the summit of Mount McKinley. People always ask me, what do you take to the top? 3 things go with me to the top of the mountain. I have a child who gave me a Buddha. At the last minute, you just don't turn something like that down, and Buddha goes in my backpack, and even though I'm Episcopalian, you just take everything you can. So Buddha goes in the backpack, and he's still there. But more important than that, I take something that keeps me spiritually grounded to why it is I'm doing this, and the whole purpose, I think, of life, I suppose, and that is I take a man's ashes. I have a very good friend named Lee, and Lee's husband died in the fall of 2003 from prostate cancer. He was a college professor, an outdoorsman, a climber, and she asked if I would take him to the top of McKinley. So we put John into an envelope. Now we find out we're doing the 7 summits. So now we have taken John, and John is in 7 envelopes. John has been to the top of 6 of the 7 mountains, and he too is waiting to summit Everest. And John is wrapped in a flag, and that flag represents everyone who has helped me get to the top. But I'm not here to talk you into running a marathon or climbing a mountain. But I am here to tell you to find your own mountain. Find something that you can put your heart and soul into, and don't you forget about the bad things in your life when your mind is engaged with something you love. That's why you're so good at what you're doing. That's why Slapata is such a magical organization to be in. Each of you, when you're busy doing your passion and finding something you love, can forget about the negative things that might be in the back. It'll come back, I can't take them away. But how wonderful to have something that's all yours, no one can take away, and during the time that you are involved with it, I think you hear your soul. So I use my marathon run just to tell people with MS that if I can do it, they can do it. The hardest part is finding that passion. But once you find it, it's all yours. So I have 4 words now for you. Self-discovery, stubbornness, serendipity, and Silpata. Silpata!